Hi, welcome to the webinar. It looks like there's a lot of people on the call today, so I want to get right down to it. So I'm going to start with introducing myself. I'm April Adams, and the webinar today is called Stop Waiting for Someone Else to Make You Happy. Discover the 5 keys to total emotional fulfillment. So that's really where I want you to be, is in this place of total emotional fulfillment. And most of you probably know me as an intuitive life coach, maybe a healer, an author, and most of all as just somebody who is very peaceful and happy and feels good to be around. So I want you to know that I haven't always been that person. I haven't always been in that place. I was actually really depressed and overwhelmed and obsessive and really not a great person to be in a romantic relationship with. I used to struggle so much with the end of the honeymoon phase of a relationship, and that was probably my primary downfall throughout my life. And what really brought me out of that, finally, was when I hit an especially intense version of that, where I was depressed and obsessive for a good 3 years straight, trying to make my partner go back to being who I thought they were, who I fell in love with, and really to go back to that intense, passionate phase that starts most relationships out. But I recognized that it was a pattern in my life to be obsessive about this, to be really intense and have such expectations about it. And what I recognized was that the common denominator in all of the times that it happened in my life was me, not the people I was with. And that was a big turning point for me, to move out of that place of depression and desperation, and even sometimes being suicidal. It was that bad for me sometimes. So I really get it when people come to me saying that they're struggling. And even if what somebody's struggling with may sound ridiculous to somebody on the outside, I understand there is a deeper struggle there. There is something going on internally within that person that is creating a pain so intense that you really can't compare it to any other kind of pain. It's just life-altering, and it holds you back and it holds you down. And I have very much been there, and the great part is that I know how to get out of there. So I'm an emotional fulfillment specialist, and that's what I do. Is I specifically help people to get from a place of struggle and desperation into a place of happiness, peace, contentment, and most of all, fulfillment. But what led me there was, first of all, that realization that I was the common denominator and I was the one creating my misery, my expectations, and so on. But the next piece was that at that same time that I was going through that emotional struggle, I was also not really enjoying my work anymore. I had always worked in high-end spas and loved it, but right around that time, I found a couple of salons I had worked in really were not fulfilling, and I wasn't finding the work as rewarding anymore. And right around that time, a woman came in for a treatment with me, and she was a Reiki teacher. And we hit it off immediately. We had a fantastic conversation, and I went and took Reiki training with her. And when I was activated to be able to use Reiki energy, I could feel it physically in my hands. It was a visceral sensation, and I was shocked. And I immediately said, "Holy crap, this means there is something else, and this is what I was supposed to be doing." So that's a big shift there. And what's really cool is I immediately began to be able to offer Reiki to others. Once I had gotten to the level 2 of Reiki, and I was alongside of the Reiki training reading a lot of metaphysical, self-help, spiritual books, and it was all kind of helping me begin to shift, begin to recognize my own harmful patterns. And the people who were coming into me, both for regular treatments that I had already been doing at the spa, as well as my Reiki clients, were struggling with the same things. And so I was able to help them with the tools that were helping me. And it was an incredible transition. Really beautiful. So that's really where I want to help you to get. So this is for you, if you have any of these issues. And what I want you to do is really physically take part in this class. The more you interact physically with what we're going to do, the more neurons in your brains are going to be interacting, and the more you're going to take from it, the more you're going to learn and hold on to and integrate. So, if you have ever felt or currently feel any of the following, I want you to raise your hand. So this is for you if you seemingly have it all, but you long for something more. So if in your life you externally appear to have it all, but you kind of feel empty inside, you feel like something is lacking and you want something more, this is for you. If you feel lonely, regardless of your relationship status, so there's a lot of people who are in a relationship that are sitting there right next to their partner feeling lonely, just as lonely as somebody who is actually by themselves. And if that's you, this is for you. If you struggle with the end of a honeymoon phase like I did, yes, I'm raising my hand right now. Yep. If you are depressed, overly tense, or overwhelmed, yeah, I've been there. If you want or need others to change in order to please you, yeah, guilty. And if you feel powerless, passionless, or uninspired, this is for you as well. And I want you to know that we've all been there at some point in our lives. So you're not alone. But it doesn't have to be your future. Let's talk a little bit about what to expect today. So the first thing I want you to do is to forget how you already look at things. Forget everything you know. And just allow yourself to take in some new information. Because if what you already know and the way that you already think were working for you, you would not be in the place of struggle that you're in right now. So just let all of that go for now. And just be in a place of openness, receiving, and what if. Today we're going to go over a few interactive exercises that are going to make you feel very relaxed and really good. We'll go over the 5 R's of total emotional fulfillment and how to put them to use. You'll find out why it's a good thing that you're struggling right now. And we'll talk a little bit about how you can continue your progress at home following this webinar. And most of all, we want to get you closer and closer every moment and every day to feeling like this. Let's begin with a feelings exercise. So first we're going to start with just closing your eyes, taking a few slow, deep breaths into the bottom of your lungs, and relaxing into your chair. Just letting all of the tension melt from your body, from the top of your head, down and out through the bottoms of your feet, all of your tension just sliding right out of you. And bringing your full awareness to your body. and scanning your body for any areas of discomfort or tension or pain. And I want you to bring your focus to the one that's the most intense for you right now. For many of you, this will be some heaviness or tightness in your chest or the knot in your stomach. But just pick whichever area is the most intense right now. And just let go. Let go of any resistance. Let go of any judgment. And just allow whatever the sensation and feeling is to fully be there. Don't try to change it. Don't try to release it. And don't try to heal it. Just feel it. Let it be there. Let it grow and expand and bloom. Let it show you its full expression. Let it bring you any messages that it is meant to teach you. Now make a slight shift in your perception. Allow this feeling to become neutral. It is neither good nor bad, it is just there. It simply is. And now just a little more shift. Make it positive. Let it power you up. Let it become the fire within you. Let it boost you and expand within you. Let it be your superpower. Send it love. Be one with it. Enjoy it. Revel in it. Now remain in this place. Allow yourself to continue feeling this while I discuss a premise with you that you might not be familiar with. We are taught when we're very young to suppress, ignore, and hide our feelings. We are taught that they're weakness. And so we begin suppressing our feelings. But our feelings are a gift. They are meant to be a compass for us. Our feelings are meant to guide us as to what is true and what is not, as to what resonates with us and what doesn't. And so, when you are interacting with a person or a place, or you are having a thought, and you feel good, that is your truth. At your core, that is the truth of your higher self, and your feelings and your emotions in your body are conveying that to you. And when you are interacting with someone, or a place, or having a thought, and you feel something negative in your body, you feel a negative emotion or a heaviness, this is a signal to you that you do not resonate with that that is not your highest truth, and it is not for your highest good. And I know as a child, you had that feeling around certain people where you would feel awful around someone and you'd want to avoid them. And you were forced to interact with them politely. And that you were forced to go to places that made you feel uncomfortable. And so you learned to stuff down those feelings and those instincts. But at its core, this is the very base of your intuition. This is the beginning of the communication between your higher self and your physical self. So it is very important for you to be in touch with your feelings, to let go of the tendency to try to push them away and stuff them down. You can begin to let it power you up, let it fill you, let it be your superpower, both in how it feels within you and how much power you give it, as well as showing you what's true and what's not, what resonates with you and what doesn't. Okay, we're going to move forward now with the 5 R's of total emotional fulfillment. So those 5 R's are recognize, relationships, research, rise, and reprogram. The first one is recognize, which is all about looking at the damaging programming that you've received growing up and how you've been taught to suppress your emotions. And for a lot of us, how we've been taught to have expectations in our relationships. And not just in our romantic relationships, but across the board. What do we expect of family members just because they're family members? What do we expect of our friends? But absolutely, what do we expect from our romantic partners? And all of this comes from our parents, our society, our entertainment, like books and, romance novels and romantic comedies and love songs and breakup songs and fairy tales. And for some people, even porn plays a part in the expectations as to how things should look, and how our bodies should look and how our relationships should look. And we have a lot of expectations, and real life very rarely meets those expectations. So all of that has been being programmed into you since you were born by all of your experience. And if the way that you had been taught to look at everything was so right, so healthy, would you be feeling the way that you feel? Would you need to listen to something like this webinar? Or would you already be in a place of peace and happiness and bliss? So I want to do a little exercise with you to show you that you are actually in charge of how you feel. Because up until now, you've probably been operating under the belief that other people are what's causing your feelings. For instance, if you're in a romantic relationship, especially if it's a brand new one, and everything that person does makes you feel so good, it makes you feel so happy, all the compliments and all the chasing you around for sex and all of it just makes you feel awesome. Well, what's really happening there is your thoughts about what they're doing and saying are giving you a chemical rush. But the same thing happens when somebody says something hurtful or when somebody does a behavior that you're judging as bad. It's not the behavior or the words of the other person that are creating the upheaval or anger in you. It's your thoughts and judgments about their actions that are actually creating that chemical rush within your body. So you get to have control over that. And I'm going to show you how right now. So what you're going to do is once again, get into that nice relaxed state. Relax back into your chair. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Close your eyes. And envision in the center of your brain a control panel. And we're going to create a few dials on that control panel right now. So get out your little labeling gun, and we're going to label one of those controls anger, and another one depression, and another one stress. And then we'll create a few more. One for peace, one for happiness, and one for new love. And now find your dial for stress and turn it down. Turn it all the way to off. And what did you feel shift in your body? Do you feel a lessening in that knot in your stomach? Now do the dial for anger. Turn down your anger. And now depression. Turn that down. Now go to your dial for peace. Turn that up. And happiness. Turn that one up. And new love. Blast that sucker. And let yourself feel it. Let your chest bloom with that. That's you. You just did that. I didn't do that for you. Your boyfriend didn't do that for you. That was you. And you can do that anytime you want to. And so it's up to you how you want to feel in your life. Do you want to allow someone else's actions to disturb your peace? Or do you want to feel good? Because that's really up to you. And not only that, but you create your own reality with your attention and judgment. What you pay attention to is what you draw more to you, both through the law of attraction, which we'll talk about more soon, but also because your awareness and placing your awareness on something makes it bigger. It makes it more important for you. So do you want to watch the news and pay attention to all of the fear and negativity and horrible things out there? Or do you want to pay attention to things that feed your soul? Do you want to pay attention to the positive things in this world? It's up to you. You get to decide what you're going to pay attention to, and therefore what you attract into your life more. There are 600 billion people on this planet, and there are 600 billion different versions of reality. Each of us creates our own reality based on our own perception and awareness. So you get to decide from this moment on what it is that you want as your primary reality. And you get to create how you're going to feel about it. It's all up to you. The second R is relationships. And this is not about your romantic relationships or your family relationships or your friendships. This is about creating a support system. This is building community and having a mentor, having somebody who's been there and done that, who can help you every step of the way. It's about having others who are or have gone through the same thing, who can support you, who you can support. It's really about making connections and having a level of consistency and accountability It's somebody to check in with. It's somebody to run to. This is very important in all recovery formats. Using AA, for example. Having a support system is huge. Having that mentor, having a sponsor is a very important piece of recovery. And you may not be recovering from alcohol or drug addiction, but you're likely recovering from love addiction or sex addiction or an addiction to negativity. That's not even your fault, but it's there. So this is about finding someone or a group of someones who can help support you and who can also sympathize and understand where you are, where you're coming from, and where you're going. And research is the next one, and this is really honestly my favorite. This is what made the biggest difference for me. But I know a lot of people get to this part and say, oh, research? What? Are you kidding me right now? But I'm not talking about boring research. And for me, honestly, my jaw was on the floor half the time when I was doing research. I was just so shocked because most of the things that I was reading and watching seemed like they were addressed to me. Dear April, here is how you've been thinking about things, and here's how you've been behaving, and here has been the result. And here are some different ways that you can do that, and here are some results that you may have when you begin. And I sat there wondering, how on earth, how did they know that this is what I've been going through? How the heck, how the heck did they see into my life and know exactly what I needed to hear and what I was doing? But it's because they've been there too. And that's the point. Finding people who know what it feels like to be where you are and to guide you out of that. And so that's what you want. You want the tools that are really going to speak to you and feel like they were made for you. I had a client recently that I recommended a book to about relationships, and she didn't want it to end. She was finding it so helpful in her love life and her day-to-day life and interactions with others that she just felt so good as she was reading it and as she was following through. And she just was coming in saying, what can I read next? Because I'm almost done with this book and I can't imagine being done with it. What's the next piece? What is it? And that's really where I want you to be, is that excited place of, okay, this one helped me so much and it spoke to me so deeply that I'm ready for whatever's next too. And to keep implementing that. And the bigger piece of this too is that having something to read or to watch, it takes you out of the negative thought patterns that you are in and that you've allowed yourself to fall into the pattern of having. So it's a distraction technique of sorts. And distraction techniques are nice. You can go for a walk or you can play a game of solitaire to distract yourself from your negative thoughts. But that only goes so far. What you really want is something to distract you that will also help you to grow, that will help you reprogram yourself to be thinking a completely different way, to create healthier and happier patterns for yourself. So looking at books and movies and even mantras and affirmations, because, you may have to work during the day at a cubicle, and so you can't sit there and read or watch a movie at that time, but you find yourself falling into a pattern of negative thinking. Having a mantra or affirmation on tap that directly focuses on your negative thoughts that you can say in place of those negative thoughts is very helpful. So when you start to think, I'll never have the love life that I want, you immediately stop that. You catch it in its tracks and say, how many times have we had this thought? How many times has this train of thought gotten us to anywhere good? And you say, no, this time we're going to look at something else. And what I want you to do is kind of make a list of all of the negative thoughts you have on a regular basis, and then a more truthful, whole, and pure contradiction to that. So, I'll never have the love life that I desire becomes, I attract love and passion into my life from all directions. And you create a whole list of those so that when you find yourself having that negative thought, you can immediately go to the positive contradiction of that is actually more in alignment with your higher truth and your higher self. So it's all about having something to run to when you're struggling. And a lot of people will resist this step a little bit, saying maybe they don't like to read or they don't have time to read. And what I say to that is, if you have time to worry, you have time to read. How much time do you waste during the day letting your mind wander off into all of your worries and all of your anger and frustration and what you wish you had? Well, instead, during that time, you could catch it, nip it in the bud, and be replacing it with something positive. And moving yourself into a place of feeling better right now. And that's huge. And also, there's these wonderful things called digital books, audiobooks, where somebody else can read to you. So if you're driving somewhere, if you're doing laundry, if you're doing housework, you can listen to somebody else read you these wonderful things. And that's huge. And, okay, so the last bit is that some people talk about all of that being kind of expensive. So, first of all, most of the movies that I would recommend are available free on YouTube. And the books, well, there's these fantastic places called libraries that have free books. If you can imagine that, there's free books at the library. So, and even if they don't have the book you want right there, they can usually order it from another library. And most libraries have audiobooks. So you could get free audiobooks and just have somebody read to you. So I suggest kind of having all of that. But most of all, to make it fun. But just for a moment, think about this. How long have you been thinking or living like you have? So how long do you think it's going to take you to move out of that space? It's certainly not going to be overnight. If you have been thinking from a negative standpoint and judging every little thing and having certain expectations, you're not going to suddenly overnight move out of that. You know, especially if you've been doing that for 30 or 40 years. So having tools to consistently run to continually reprogram yourself and refocus yourself is hugely important. Because otherwise, it's impossible for you to just stop yourself every single time. You've been already programmed with the way that you function. And left to your own devices, you're just going to continue functioning in that way. So having these consistent tools in place is a huge piece of the process to get you moving in the direction you want to, instead of doing what you have already been doing. And happiness and awe are the feelings that you should be aiming for during the research phase. If you're feeling bored, then that book or movie is not for you. All right, this one's awesome. Okay, Rise. So Rise is all about personal empowerment, learning new ideas, like in the research phase, and gaining new abilities. Most of all, it's about getting a life. Yeah, I'm telling you to get a life. I certainly needed one when I was going through my stuff. Wow, yeah. When I was in my greatest place of struggle, which, I suppose was most of my life, I placed all of my happiness, value, and so on in how my romantic relationships were going. So, did my romantic relationships look the way I wanted them to? Did I feel the way I wanted to with my partner? Was my partner treating me the way that I wanted to be treated? And if not, it was the end of the world. So I absolutely needed to get a life that did not revolve around somebody else and their behavior and our interactions. I needed something that was going to make me feel whole and complete regardless of what was going on in my relationships. And that's really what I want to get going for you. I want you to pay attention to what it is that you have always wanted to do. What did you love doing when you were a kid? What have you always been good at? What did you want to do when you grow up, but your parents told you it wasn't a feasible way to make a living? What do you love doing now? What do you look forward to or wish that you could do? These are all guiding you and leading you toward your purpose, and it will guide you toward the greatest meaning and fulfillment in your life. But you have to allow yourself to really experience what it is that you have always wanted to do and what you are gifted at. And I'm not even talking about quitting your day job and doing this as a career, but just to begin placing your focus and awareness and some of your time on doing something you love. And chances are that you will begin to help others who are struggling in a similar way when you begin to do your gift. And everybody has a different gift. So, some people are going to be healers or life coaches, and that's great. But some people might just be a stand-up comedian, or they might even just be the lighthearted guy at the office. It doesn't have to be this major life-changing thing. But if you're drawn to humor, that's how you're meant to heal other people. So you really have to pay attention to what it is that you love, what it is that's important to you, and what it is that you have always been gifted at to some extent. And it may take some time, but you can move in the direction of doing that. And it may or may not ever become a career path for you, but it will give you some level of meaning and excitement and something to look forward to and get up for every day that doesn't depend on another person and their behavior. Now, another piece here is developing your healing abilities. So imagine not getting sick. When I got attuned to Reiki, I said, what can I heal with this? And every time I would start to come down with the first symptoms of a cold or the flu or food poisoning or I burned myself, I would immediately start sending Reiki to wherever those symptoms were for probably 15 or 20 minutes a couple times a day, right away. And I didn't get sick for 5 years straight until I started getting cocky and stopped sending Reiki and just said, I don't get sick anymore. And then I started getting sick again. But you can heal yourself and you can heal the people in your family. So imagine being able to stop yourself or your family, your kids from getting sick. Or at the very least, lessening the symptoms and making things more comfortable. And it can be used for emotional issues, physical issues, all kinds of things. It's all about restoring the energy balance and getting you back to your pure balanced state, really. That's what energy work is all about. And you can activate your own healing abilities just by sitting in meditation and asking your higher self or your higher power to activate those abilities for you. And then you just allow it to happen for a few minutes and then intend for your hands to turn on and point them at whatever needs healing. I think you'll really love it. Of course, a lot of people wants some more guidance than that, and I'm happy to provide that. So I'd love to work with you in the future if that's something that you become interested in. And you can develop your own intuition as well. And honestly, we all have some level of intuition, but the problem is that we haven't been taught how to recognize it. And it's been really it's been scared out of us in our culture, really. But we all have some level of intuitive ability. It's just that we're looking in the wrong place for it. So we have been taught that clairvoyance is what psychic is. So we're expecting to have visions when we're looking for psychic abilities. And unless you think in pictures, you're not going to be clairvoyant. You're not going to have visions because you don't think in visual. So if you are a highly physically sensitive person, you're likely to pick up on other people's emotions and the things that are going on around you in a physical way. So it will seem almost like you have a physical issue that actually belongs to somebody else, or a physical emotion that belongs to somebody else. And for most people, this happens without us even knowing that's what's going on. We think that it's ours. And that's called being an empath. That's a pretty common intuitive ability that most people have never heard of. And there's all kinds. There's clairaudience, where you hear intuitive information. There's clairsentience, where you have a sudden understanding about something without knowing the background information of it. There are so many ways that your gifts and abilities can come in. And as we discussed in the beginning, those feelings in your body are distinct yeses and nos for you. So you have intuition. You just have to learn how to tune into it, how to use it, how to develop it, make it even stronger. And I'm not talking about going out and becoming a psychic. This is for your own well-being, your own highest good, and the ability to make decisions in your life without having to run out to the psychic or a psychiatrist or your parents every 5 minutes saying, oh, what should I do? What should I do? You will know from your heart what is right for you and what's not. And that's hugely empowering. And of course, as with any kind of recovery from anything, a connection with something larger than yourself. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me whether that's energy, the universe, your higher self, your higher consciousness, the divine. Whatever it is, it's about finding that something larger than yourself. And when you make that connection, over time, it can become visceral and powerful to feel that connection to that something larger than yourself. And what's really beautiful is you can begin to use your pain to heal others. When you get a life, when you start to live your purpose, when you start doing things that make you feel good, people will be drawn to you and start asking you, how can I get out of that, the misery that I'm in? I see that you used to be stuck like I am, and now you are thriving, and I want to be there too. So you will begin to attract people to you that you can help, and that will create an even greater meaning and happiness and fulfillment in your life. The last piece I want to cover in this section of Rise is the law of attraction. This is about being able to attract what you want. And the truth of the matter is that you attract what you are. So whatever your physical vibration is what you attract to you. And if you're coming at relationships from a place of need, that's a low vibration. And so you're attracting someone else and situations that are of that low vibration. And overall in life, the lower your vibration is, and the sadder you are, the lower you are, the angrier you are, the more negativity that you're holding on to and focusing on, the lower your vibration is going to be. And on the flip side, when you get to a place of fulfillment, when you're taking good care of yourself, when you are creating your own happiness, you begin to attract other people who are at that higher vibration as well. And you're also showing people how to treat you. And they see and understand that you are a higher vibration creature, and that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and love. And that's what you attract when that's what you believe and give to yourself. That brings us right into reprogramming. So this is really important because it's all about clearing the subconscious mind. From the time we're born until we're about 7 years old, we are almost constantly in the theta brainwave state. And the theta brainwave state is very, very highly programmable. This is the state that you're in all the way from daydreaming to asleep and dreaming. So in between there, you've got hypnosis, you've got half asleep, half awake. You know, when you are first falling asleep and you start to kind of have those weird dreams, or you get an epiphany, that's theta. And so is, a nice deep meditative state. So if you're daydreaming, if you're meditating, if you're drifting off to sleep, if you're hypnotized, if you're asleep and dreaming, those are all within the theta brainwave state. And we get there a lot. It's pretty much our default mode from the time we're 0 to 7. And everything we experience, everything we see, everything we feel, everything we hear, and everything we decide with our immature brains about how the world works, begin to take hold as our default mode. And 80 to 90% of our reactions to the world come from our subconscious mind. And that's what's been programmed within that time. So essentially, there's a 5-year-old running your life. And no matter how much you empower your conscious mind, no matter how enlightened you become on a conscious level, your subconscious mind is still holding on to the old fears and the old struggles and the old beliefs, unless you reprogram them. So what limiting beliefs were you exposed to? What did your parents teach you? What did your church teach you? What did you see on TV? What did the culture and society show you? What ads did you watch? So what all has been programmed into you on such a deep level that you are living from that rather than what you want to be living from? And I find that when people have a lot of negative subconscious programming, that they have difficulty manifesting their desires. They have difficulty using the law of attraction to manifest what they want, because your ability to manifest things are only as powerful as the percentage of you that believes that it's possible. So when you begin to set positive intentions or use the secret, basically there's a part of you that pops up and says that's not possible, or you're not worthy of that, or how dare you? And that's what holds you back from being able to get what you want. So the ways to get out of that is basically anything that brings you back into the theta brainwave state or helps you directly access your subconscious mind. And theta is the easiest way to do that. So there's different methods you can use. You can do hypnosis, self-hypnosis, regression work, tapping, EMDR, and so on. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. The ways that I primarily will use with people is hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and regression. Tapping and EMDR are great. Tapping is where you tap on certain pressure points on the body, and that activates meridians, and that accesses your subconscious mind and brings energy flow through areas that are blocked and helps you to reprogram the subconscious. EMDR is fascinating. It is an eye movement therapy where basically you revisit a traumatic experience while you're moving your eyes in a certain way that a therapist is showing you how to move your eyes, and it unlocks the trauma in that moment. Very cool. But the ways that I've been guided by the universe to create for people and to use with people, including myself, are the hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and regression. So with regression, it's all about getting into theta and revisiting specific moments in this lifetime or other lifetimes that created negative programming or a traumatic response. And it's about getting into that moment and healing it in whatever way is needed in order to release the trauma surrounding it and letting go of the beliefs and the programs that were built as a result of that moment. And the hypnosis and self-hypnosis are actually something that I teach in my book. So I have this book. It's called Essence, Ending Emptiness, Finding Fulfillment. And in it, you learn how to get into the theta brainwave state, how to develop your intuition, but also how to reprogram your mind. So it goes through everything. It teaches you what you want to change in your life. So you kind of go through and you look at, what do I want to change? And then how do I then take those wishes that I want to go into the subconscious mind properly? So what terminology needs to be used? And then how to record that into a set of programs that you can listen to while you're sleeping at night, so that you're automatically in theta while you're listening to these things and it's reprogramming you. And what I found was, while I was helping people initially to make customized programs like that, was that there were a bunch of programs that pretty much everyone was asking for. So I created a recording called Effortless Metamorphosis that is the top 100 most requested programs that people really wanted most of all, and they're in that proper terminology to reach the subconscious mind, and they're very highly effective. And just set it up so that people could automatically listen to that at night while they're sleeping. And I'll show you how you can get that recording for free at the end of this webinar as well. It's super exciting. It's awesome. So imagine. Well, you know what? I'm not going to have you imagine what would happen if you did nothing, because you've already been there long enough. You've already been in your own place of struggle and difficulty, and we're done with that. So I'm just going to have you relax. Take a few deep breaths. And I want you to think about what would change for you if you were emotionally fulfilled. How would it feel? How would you feel? What would your life look like? How would it affect your work life and your relationships and your health? Now I know that you're feeling lonely, no matter what your relationship status is. And I know that you're longing for something. Even if you don't know what that is, I can feel that longing there. I know that you've been depressed and overwhelmed, and feeling a sense of frustration and powerlessness. And I know that you don't want to stay there anymore. I know that you want to be in that place of fulfillment and joy. So I want to share a little story with you. I have a client who came to me initially saying that her spirit was broken. And she didn't like her body. She didn't like her job. She was in relationships with emotionally unavailable men. She complained a lot about her friends' behaviors. And so we began working together and basically doing all of the things that we've been talking about today in this class. And she really started to grow and bloom and was feeling so much better about life in general, and would come in every session so pumped and thankful for where she had gotten to. And then one day she lost her job. They did some layoffs, and she was one of them. And she said that BA, before April, she said, BA, I would have just crawled under my blankets in my bed and rolled up into the fetal position and cried and freaked out and hidden and not known what the heck to do. But instead, I saw that it was an opportunity, and I thought, this is leading to something better. And she went out looking for something else. And within a week and a half, she had a better job with higher pay, a shorter commute, and more supportive, positive coworkers. And she would have never gotten that job if she'd have been hiding, if she'd have been mourning. So I want people to all be in that place, to be in the place of receiving from the universe, to trust that you are being led in the right direction for a purpose. I want to help you to be able to set yourself free and empower yourself to do all of the things that you've always wanted to do but are held back from, for so many reasons that aren't your fault. So what I want to offer you is a totally free, no strings attached, and no pressure. Really, honestly, there would be no pressure whatsoever to buy anything, but I want to offer you a 1-hour strategy session with me. And in this session, we would go over what your struggles are, what's holding you back, what you're hyper-focusing on, whatever your primary issues are. So all of the things we've talked about today and anything else that you've got going on. And I will give you specific tools and techniques that you can use to continue your progress, and so that you can utilize this webinar beyond just what you've learned today. And I want you to be able to really benefit from my expertise and even my mistakes, because it took me about 6 years total to get from a place of absolute misery to a place of 90% positivity. And I don't want it to take that long for you. And so I know how it looks to fall down, and I know the mistakes that you can make during that time. And I know what you should be reading and doing, and all of the practices you could put into play, specifically for yourself, to pull yourself out of the struggle that you're in right now. So what I want you to do is open a new tab on your computer and go to fillingyourcup.com. The address is right there, fillingyourcup.com. And scroll down and fill out your name and email address. And that will sign you up for my weekly emails that will help you to continue getting tips just like you've gotten through this webinar, all kinds of little bits of wisdom. And you can also unsubscribe from that anytime you feel like it if you find that it's not doing anything for you. But more importantly, what this is going to do is it's going to bring you to my booking page so that you can, right here, right now, book your free session with me. So you can choose whatever time is convenient in that schedule and book whatever works for you. And for those of you who book right now, I'm going to offer you that free hypnosis recording of Effortless Metamorphosis. And that's a $77 value. And I'm just going to give it to you as a thank you for taking the time and making the commitment to yourself to move toward your healing, to move toward living that life that you want. And so you're going to be meeting with me and changing some things on a conscious level. And you're also going to have the recording to listen to at night so that you can begin releasing some of your subconscious programs that aren't serving you either. And that alone will take you such a long way toward where you want to be. And I feel that it's so important for you to be able to get to that place. Now, for those of you who are already regular clients of mine, obviously that offer isn't right for you. So what I want to offer you is, if you get a friend to sign up for a free session with me within 24 hours, that both of you will get the hypnosis recording of Effortless Metamorphosis for free, as my thank you to you and my welcome to them. So just have them put your name in their booking, as far as in the notes in their booking. You can have them put your name, and I will send both of you the MP3 recording of Effortless Metamorphosis with those top 100 most requested and awesome programs for the subconscious. So go ahead, do your booking, fillingyourcup.com. And I'm just so honored and excited that I'm going to be able to work with so many of you and get you specifically customized information that you need to move forward with. And, if you decide that you love working with me and that you feel great with me, then we can absolutely talk about possibly working together over the next few months to continue your progress even more. But that's totally up to you, and I will not be placing any pressure on you for that. If you want to move forward with me and you feel excited about working with me more, we can absolutely go there, and we can do that. And I offer a lot of different packages for people with different budgets, different timelines, all of that. But the bigger, most important part is for you to take this first step to just getting one step closer to where you want to be. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. So feel free to send me an email here at aphroditebeaming@gmail.com. I would love any testimonials. If anything that you've learned today has benefited you or continues to benefit you, please send me testimonials. Absolutely. I'd love feedback on how this has benefited you, how you felt while you were listening to it, and what's worked for you and what hasn't. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time and energy out of your schedule to come and listen, and I so look forward to connecting with you one-on-one. Thank you.